It's the Friday before the All-Star break, and we're talking pickups, the top fantasy earners to date in 2023, and much more here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Clay Link here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. Always great speaking with you, Todd. And yeah, we are heading into the final weekend of action before the All-Star break. How are you feeling today, Todd? How are things as we get set for the intermission here?
Things are good. It's really hot. So these are Hall of Fame sweat marks you're seeing, if I can point correctly.
At least the video's working this week.
Yeah, well, I don't know what happened because I didn't do anything. It worked on a Zoom meeting we have for the XFL, and I don't know. So maybe it'll flip out and whatever. People don't, you can just imagine me. But anyway, no, glad things are good, Clay. As we talked off air, I got rid of my old vehicle and I have a new one now. Or new to me, it's not new at all. So one less headache, if you will.
Congrats on the new set of wheels.
Thank you. Taking it to the Cape. Cape Cod.
That's right.
Cape Cod baseball early next week. So I got a 30-day warranty, so I'm going to put it to the test.
Nice, man. I hope you enjoy that trip. I hope you have a fun and safe trip to the Cape Cod League. This should be fun.
Yeah.
I'll be heading to Vegas for the company vertical on Sunday morning. So this should
draft your football teams with everybody.
If I'm forced to, if
I
twist my arm, I'll draft.
I went once, and I was like, all right, here's my text. If you got 11, you need 12. You know where to find me, but I prefer not to. And Pete never texted me, so it was all good.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I don't really know my football period, but especially this time of year, I do enjoy fantasy football. But as my brother and his league members will tell you, I've never won that league, and they love to rub it in. The fantasy guy can't win the football league, but hopefully sometime soon. But yeah, we again, no 2-star pitchers since the All-Star break is next week, but still plenty to talk about.
So, including, what do you talk about?
I know that reference.
I'm back in a little bit for what it's worth.
Nice.
The Roman Reigns thing drew me back in. It was just too good a story. But anyway,
I watched some of the Forbidden Door, which was kind of fun. But anyway, Colton Cowser is up, and he's kind of the big pickup, the big talk of the baseball world. After Ellie De La Cruz, who's still the talk of the baseball world.
It's just silly.
Yeah, he's amazing. I'm kind of bummed I can't get to Milwaukee this weekend. Huge series in Milwaukee, by the way. NL Central lead up for grabs with the Reds visiting, but Colton Cowser was already rostered in the stake league, but man, where he's available, I imagine he's going to be a hot commodity. 56 games at AAA. He had 10 homers, 7 steals at 330. He was a top 5 pick just 2 years ago, the number 5 overall pick. And do you think this is the kind of guy who, if you've been sitting on that stash of money for a while, your FAAB budget, you think this is the kind of guy you break the bank for? Because Aaron Hicks is hurt now too.
I do, for a couple of reasons, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, Aaron Hicks is hurt, but I tweeted this and whatever. I don't think that Ryan O'Hearn is going to block Colton Cowser. O'Hearn is a bit over his head right now.
Just a bit.
And he every time whenever I say that, he goes out and 2 for 4 with another homer.
Mm-hmm. He's kept us up long beyond most.
Yeah, right. Mountcastle is still on the farm. He's hitting the ball hard, but not getting the results. I think they want to bring him up soon. So there is playing time for Cowser. This sort of thing has not worked. Sometimes, going back in time, Jeremy Hermida, plate discipline isn't always the be all end all, but Cowser broke my system as far as translation, MLEs, and that sort of thing. It had him hitting like 320 with a 410 OBP. So I had to calm that down a bit, right? I mean, that's a little excessive.
That's like rookie Vlad Jr. breaking your system.
Yeah, not as much. I mean, Vlad, what happened? It was like when the train hit the Lamborghini, whatever, the DeLorean, and when the Professor wanted the thing destroyed. That's what Vlad did to my system. Cowser just kind of, gently nicked it. But the point, a lot of Cowser's on base was he got hit a lot. So I calmed that. That was easy. He doesn't get hit as much. Woo! But I had to calm the average down. It wasn't. I'm not going to. If he hits 320, all right. That's what my system said, and I miss a chance to be a hero. But I can't project 320 for a rookie of that nature. But because I think there's playing time, and because I think that someone with the plate discipline that Cowser shows has a better chance of avoiding, I don't know, slumps or just transition, I like it. And I don't think Cowser's going to be inserted in the number 3 hole. I mean, he's probably hitting 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, right? That hurts fantasy wise, but I think it helps him from a just do your thing kid point of view.
Totally. And really impressive, really the numbers throughout the rise through the minor league system since he was drafted a couple years ago. Above league average by WRC plus at every stop and well above league average pretty much at every stop. So pretty exciting young bat. I probably won't have the FAAB budget to get much of him myself, but if you've been waiting, this could be a big impact player here.
Yeah, I have him in an NFBC keeper league. Now, this was previous to the ones that are actually sponsored by the NFBC, but it was one time was run on their software. Anyway, and he's one of my 5 or now 3 minor leaguers. And I haven't heard the news about Corbin Carroll yet. And he's on my team. I've been
waiting on that too.
Yeah, he's on my team. And I don't have to activate. I can activate Cowser whenever I want. Then the start clock, if he has like 150 at bats, it doesn't matter. It's when I activate him. So I have to, I'm competing. So I have to make a decision. Do I start Cowser's clock and get almost half a year when I could, get 3 full years if I waited? So I'm going to have to make that. But if Carroll's out, I may need to, right? Just to recapture that lost production. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about the top earners to date, and Carroll's right up there. I mean, he's not only the easy choice right now for NL Rookie of the Year, he's been one of the top producers in all of baseball. He's been unbelievable. I saw that we had a note last night about some positive initial news that they felt he was fine, but that's we still need test results and imaging.
I think we're on the same page. I don't consider that positive. I consider that not negative.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. Yeah. I don't think we can say it's positive yet, but at least it's separated or whatever.
Yeah. At least it's, after the game, they're feeling like maybe it's not.
And he was in the dugout. If to me, if there was something serious, he was in the dugout after so knock on wood. I could see him being shut down over the weekend. I could see that. Was he on the All-Star team? I assume he was.
Yeah, he is on the All-Star team.
So I could see him being shut down and miss. He should have plenty more opportunities, I would think, Corbin Carroll, to play in the All-Star game. So, speaking
of the All-Star game, do you see the Rangers have 5 starters?
One of them is not named Rafael Devers. Oh, wait, he's not on the Red Sox. I'm Rangers. Yes, I did. And I also just saw the Rangers play the Red Sox. And even though Boston's done well against them, that, it was 10-5 Red Sox. And it was like, they can come back. They can come back. And
what a year so far for that team.
And even having said that, their batting average, running and scoring position is starting to regress, but it's through the roof. However, they still have a lot of good hitters. And even when it regresses, they're still going to score some runs. But that is an interesting team.
Another big piece of news, impacting the fantasy world. Alek Manoah now back. He's returning tonight, and a lot was made after that, complex league start, how bad that was. But then he went up to AA and struck out 10. So it seems like the team was justified in saying that they, weren't putting a lot of stock into that complex league start. So I don't know. This is a guy who was a AL Cy Young finalist just last year. Do you think he could? I mean, before we go and think maybe he could be like a big impact guy the rest of the way, do you think he could at least be usable and serviceable for fantasy the rest of the way?
I think the answer to that question lies in the fact that last FAAB period for the NFBC, I picked him up in 2 leagues. One of, I think, TGFBI, maybe Nerf. So I guess that answer is yes, I do. Or I wouldn't have done it. Now, it's not like Tout Wars where I had to have him in the lineup. So maybe I feel there's a pathway to serviceability, and I thought it was worth taking the chance. I put out a tweet. I was telling you about it, just, kind of for fun. Alek Manoah it's a poll. I'm still on Twitter. No threads yet. I'll work on that. I'm old. One's enough for me. Alek Manoah is A, in my lineup, it's Detroit. B, on my bench, wait and see. Or C, dead to me. So we got 27% in my lineup, it's Detroit. 35% on my bench, wait and see. And then 38% dead to me. I rounded. So if those numbers don't add up to 100, don't tweet me. I mean, I rounded. So, all right, a little over 1/3 of people, he's dead to me, almost 2/5. All right, I can see that.
But, see, I can't really see that because, again, this guy was the Cy Young winner, not Cy Young winner, Cy Young finalist just last year.
No, I'm with you.
I can't see how you can just totally wash your hands of him yet.
I agree. And in my ESPN piece where I talk about who to start each day, I said, it's Detroit. If you are behind in stat and starts head to head, I start him. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I mean, was it the clock? Was it the slider? What was going on with Manoah? He struck out 10 in 5 innings. I know it was AA, but still 10 in 5 innings. So that's one of the 640 games. So I get to watch that a little bit before I have to start watching my tout daily lineup fail.
Yeah, they'll be getting underway in about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, that'll be interesting. I see the over-under tonight is 9 runs, but Toronto is slightly favored there in Detroit. So Manoah, even with all his struggles, still the favorite on the bump tonight. The wind blowing in 7 miles per hour, too. That could help, especially in a pitcher's park like Detroit. So, yeah, I don't expect him to, swing leagues down the stretch, but I don't think that's totally impossible. I don't think he's going to be a league winner, and that word's kind of thrown around. But I do think he could, if things have really turned around, and I have to think a lot of it was mental earlier in the season. If he's gotten over that and put it behind him, he could return to a high level. I don't think that's out of the question.
I don't think he was a league winner anyway, right? I mean, he didn't have the strikeouts for that, but he can certainly be a league helper.
Yeah, you need these kind of guys and these kind of pickups to win a league.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not one player that can turn the team around. You need incremental or marginal upgrades from a lot of players, and I think you can get that from Manoah.
Absolutely. Well, New Jersey Dave in the chat mentioned something which I think we should touch on, and that is that Yuri Perez was optioned today to AA. So you kind of gave that caveat last week that some of these young guys could be sent down around the break.
Administrative. This is nothing to worry about.
Yeah, this is totally management with innings and whatnot. So I do think that was kind of something people expected, but indeed that did happen. And Dave was also wondering about Tommy Henry. I didn't have him on the list of pickups, but anything to see there with Tommy Henry?
To borrow your phrase, he's now in the streaming bucket. I mean, I don't know that I pick him up. All right, the 15-teamer, if he's available, maybe. In a 12-team, he's what, churn and burn? Is that what Corey and Mike used to say? Pitch and ditch. I forget which was their term. But, in a 10-team league, daily league, yeah, I'm absolutely interested. In an NL only, for sure interested. I think the strikeouts are low, especially the last time he fanned 2 and 6 innings against
Walked
the Mets.
4.
Yeah, but he's getting into the 6th a lot. Yeah. So in points leagues, that matters. So absolutely, he is now in the streaming realm for me. He's not anybody I'm if I forget to take him out of my lineup, I get concerned and check out the opponents, right? But he's streamable.
But if you need pitching, maybe
Absolutely.
A bench spot. I picked up Graham Ashcraft, and so that's where we're at when you need.
Yeah. No, I think I got it, as I was mentioning with Manoah. I picked up Ashcraft in at least one of those leagues. One of my leagues, I think it's TGFBI. I need to grind just to get respectability, and that's all I'm trying to do right now.
I respect that. Even when you're down and out, you just got to put that best lineup forward.
RotoWire is crushing it again. James is crushing it. Eric and Jeff's up there. I mean,
I'm top 60 now too.
There you go. I wish I was with 50. You guys, because it would be some. Now that we're on Slack, it would be some fun trash talk. But I get like the worst ERAs in the league, and I'm just trying to. It doesn't. I don't say it doesn't take much, but it's possible to get them better with half a season. So
still a long way to go. I mean, I think the season's so long that it kind of plays tricks on your mind a little bit.
You
just gotta power out through the dog days, because sometimes it's easy to think, who cares? I'm out of it anyway, but it can surge quickly.
And it helps. I don't want to go down the dead team road, with football, because that's the case in any league, not just TGFBI. I got news for you. NFPC does it too. The point being, this season in general, I don't know where runs are going to go. I think it's going to be easier to stream later in the year than it's been in previous seasons. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just, who knows is what the answer is. But runs are not.
Keep fighting.
Runs are not. Excuse me. Runs are not. This is the first time I've talked in a while. I don't know if it's the air or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. I just got a little scratchy throat. Anyway, runs aren't going up as they normally do over the course of the season. I mean, they're already up, but they're not going up more. So it's just kind of a weird year.
You just got to scratch and claw. I think it's a good metaphor for life.
Addition by subtraction helps with ratios, obviously, right? So there's things to be done.
Yes, just keep fighting. Even if that means just bumping somebody out of a cash spot who you don't like or something like that. Just keep scratching and clawing and apply that to life too. Now, Colton Cowser, Alek Manoah, they were both still stashed and then held on to, I guess, respectively in the stake league. So the top pickup was from your Boston Red Sox, landing on my roster, Trevor Story.
Okay. I was going to try to
rehab assignment. Yeah, I was going to possibly ask you to guess.
I was thinking Cutter Crawford, one of the lesser pitchers. But anyway.
Well, my middle infield spot's been just brutal. I've had Jorge Mateo in there, and that was fun for like 2.5 weeks, and then it's been a disaster since. So I'm hoping, with Story closing in on a rehab assignment, I can get about 2 months of production out.
Well, a healthy Yu Chang is not going to block Trevor Story. And Yu Chang is next in line. I don't know if you saw the highlights, but Story was out there turning double plays with Alex Cora at second base.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Whatever, no big deal. Mm-hmm. But yes, you're right. And we've got the return date is the 1st. That's 2 months. Don't need a PhD in
very tentative
calendars.
Yeah, best guess. But if he's nearing this rehab assignment, you think maybe 2 weeks on the rehab and then back around August 1st.
Well, we're hearing, the note we have is immediately after the All-Star break, which is before the 1st. So the 1st could be conservative.
Yeah, I guess. Well, the rehab assignment immediately after the All-Star break. Yeah, so.
Oh, yes.
I'd imagine you'd need a couple weeks. Maybe it's only a week. Maybe an extra week. That's all right. But yeah, I mean, Cora's had a glowing quote. He said, quote, "He's been so good so far. No obstacles, no red flags. You never know what can happen in the upcoming days, but so far it's trending in the right direction and fast," he said of Story. So that's good.
Yep.
Again, Jorge Mateo, I banked those steals, but I need to get him out of my lineup ASAP. Even in a 16-team league, he's doing me a lot of harm, losing out on playing time to last week's hot pickup, Jordan Westburg. Now, Eric Flores said in the chat that someone dropped Christian Javier in a 10-team league. That's it's been really trending in the wrong direction for Javier lately. Would you add him?
No. I mean, as bad as pitching is, he's just been terrible.
Yeah.
And in a 10-team league, there's players out there.
Man, what a fall for him.
I don't know.
Like with Manoah, I'm not really willing to completely write him off. It's puzzling, to say the least.
Maybe I'm thinking too much of my ESPN 10-team league where I'm able to pick up Bailey Ober and Zach Eflin and players like that and float them in my lineup on a basis, on a daily basis. So I have a 200-point league on Derek Hardy. Should I be safe over the weekend, you think? Sorry, DC. But it's one of those weeks where everybody I choose is crushing it.
Well,
it's just nice. Just one of those weeks. So it happens to be Derek who beat me already once this year. So anyway.
I desperately need a W in the Top Wars head-to-head league. I going up against Joe Galena this week. Not looking good for me to make the playoffs. But again, just gonna scratch and claw and see where I end up. Derek Hall in the lineup tonight and playing a fair amount now for Philly. I know Bryce Harper said he could play first base at some point soon, but Derek Hall in the lineup batting 8th. And I mean, I've kind of been skeptical on the guy, but last year was not terrible. So do you think Derek Hall could be a worthwhile addition?
Yeah, I'm getting him mixed. Wasn't there just a Hall that was released? I'll track it down. I've kind of had Hall as some of the, I don't know, move in there if needed. Mm-hmm. So I suppose the answer is yes. Hasn't done a ton, but let's see. Since he's come back from the injured list, 3 hits in 4 games, one of which is a home run. I mean, not bad for the middle, but anyway, I mean, nothing. He's on a waterfall, and if you land on him, okay. But I'm not targeting him.
Yeah, some other pickups from the Stake League. Jose Miranda, he's back, and he was one of my big misses at the start of the year. I don't know how much he's going to play. AJ Minter, Nick Pivetta, Tommy Henry was mentioned. I added Graham Ashcraft for 0. Hyunjin Ryu was added. He's been on a rehab. He's pitching in the Complex League, but his first rehab outing was pretty positive. So if you're in a deep league, maybe you think about him. Francisco Alvarez. This is only a 1-catcher league, but I had a bid in on him, and man, he's been he might have just saved the Mets season the other day, that home run.
I was not aware that he had 16 homers.
Yeah,
I was not aware that
it's pretty crazy.
That many home. I don't know, maybe 6 of them came in the last week. I don't know, but
16 homers, 33 RBI.
All right, so 4 of them have come in this month. Even so, I wouldn't have thought he had 12 coming in. Yeah, that's impressive.
Daniel Hudson was picked up. I imagine that bid was put in before it was revealed that he had the sprained MCL on his right knee now.
Yeah.
So he got the save, his first save in a year, and then right back on the IL. So that's a tough break. Anybody else on your mind? Maybe Colby Allard, Tony Kemp's been playing all right, but anybody else caught your eye?
Well, we got Joseph in the chat asking us about Riley Green.
That's a good call.
I get, NFBC, you start him for 2 games. I guess it depends on who else you have, but I'm excited to get him back in the lineup.
I plugged him in for this weekend.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm more on having him more in the best ball underdog than anywhere else. But I was optimistic coming into the season on Green, and we had started the show, it was more of a not having a sophomore slump than anything else. Yeah, and that team, Torkelson's heating up a little bit. I think that all you want to see from the Tigers is just see some improvement over the second half, right? Just don't be the laughing stock don't be the team that you're willing to start Alek Manoah against. Start the turnaround. Because we've seen Baltimore and Reds and
Cincinnati.
We've seen what can happen pretty quickly.
Yeah, you got to kind of, even when things are bad, you kind of got to establish that competitive culture a little bit, and at least have that fight. And you've seen the Reds kind of like with like India, who's just about as competitive as they come. He just wouldn't let the Reds completely mail it in down the stretch last year, and I think maybe that helped that young core be competitive this year. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about rival fantasy, as we usually do on these Fridays, and we'll talk about our picks for tonight, but let me tell you a little bit about Rival first. Rival Fantasy is the fantasy platform reinventing the way daily and weekly games are played, and they've brought new games to the ballpark this year that fantasy players won't find anywhere else. Rival Fantasy's games include Fantasy Bingo, head-to-head player challenges, and Fantasy Book, where users can select over-unders for 2 to 5 players. With games like this, daily fantasy has never been better. Right now, RotoWire listeners can get a $50 protected first play. That means if you win your first play, you keep your winnings. But if you lose your first entry, Rival Fantasy will fully refund you up to $50. Go to play.rivalfantasy.com/signup and use code RotoWireMLB at signup and deposit a minimum of $25 to get your first entry on Rival protected up to $50. Now's the time to step up to the plate and become a Rival today. Welcome to the arena. All right, Todd. At first glance, it seems like you and I both kind of settled on Aaron Savali on the under being our top choice. Mostly, well, for me, is because he's the top over-under on the board, and that just was hard for me to swallow. So I know Aaron Savali, he's going up against
Kansas City.
It is home against Kansas City, but even so, it was 21 points on Savali?
Yeah, right. And I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
Kansas City, there's a lot. To me, there's more pathways for Kansas City to get to him than for Savali to get 21 points. Mm-hmm. And I broke my cold streak last week, so keep it going. But yeah, so we agreed with Savali. To me, that kind of stood out. So
Cleveland is favored here, minus 190. Over under is 8.5 runs, but he's above guys like Corbin Burns and Zach Wheeler, who I know you and I both like. It just doesn't really make sense. By the way, Carlos Rodon making his debut in pinstripes tonight.
Wow, that's weird, right? It's just like the debut. I mean, to put it in kind of perspective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Savali is like the 13th highest on DraftKings. So, I mean, he's
the highest here and the 13th highest on DraftKings.
Yeah. So that just as another site that, just to get a feel. But anyway.
All right. Well, I love Luis Castillo, but he's got to go up against Houston. And I really like Hunter Brown on the other side. I know you do too. So I'm going to stray away from Castillo's number. I'm going to go hands off. But Hunter Brown on the other side, even though he's got that tough matchup, I mean, his over-under is only 16.4 tonight. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Seattle's offense isn't very good, and you can get 16 points without the win.
Yeah.
You just got to get into, pitch 6 innings without getting hurt too much.
And, man, Jared Kelnick's really cratered.
Has he? Yeah.
I mean, that's been a storyline.
Yeah.
Since the start of June, 178, 282, 287. So, pause on your victory laps if you want to take them early in the season. Because, it looked like he could be a big-time player, but a 37.6% K rate for Kelnick.
Yeah, it's another half a year to figure it out, but we've been saying that for a while. So I agree. I agree with Brown. Another guy that I like, and you kind of alluded to it, was Zach Wheeler. And Wheeler's number is a little over 16. I've got him up around almost to 20 against Miami. I know Miami can be pesky, but I think Wheeler's pretty darn good. I know he's going against Alcantara. So I like Wheeler to pair with Savali and Brown and some sort of strategic meshing of them. And I like rooting for Zach Gallen. He's one of my favorite pitchers to watch. I have him going over. I think he'll go over his number. I don't see him on the board anymore. Maybe. No, there he is. 19, I've got him for like 20.5. I usually like to have a little more my numbers to that number to make the play. But I like rooting for Gallen so much. I may just put a minimal. Maybe I'll pair him with Savali for the minimal try, just so I get to root for him.
I like that too. He was on my list of potential options. I like that. I think I'm going to go with the under on Savali, the over on Brown, and then for my third, I'm going to mix in a third pitcher this week. And it's not going to be any of the ones we've mentioned so far.
Okay.
I'm going to take the under on Tyler Glasnow at 16.9 points. This Atlanta Braves team is just an absolute buzzsaw. It is in Tampa Bay, but they got their normal lineup: Acuna, Albies, Riley, Olsen, Murphy, Ozuna, Rosario. I mean, Ken Rosenthal was talking about how this 1 through 9, we haven't seen a 1 through 9 this good in a long time. Michael Harris has picked it up, and Glasnow's still kind of working to find himself, working his way back. So I think this is a team that could really wear him out, and he's got double-digit Ks his last 2 outings. Glasnow does, but this feels like a team that will make him throw strikes, and he'll try to nibble, and then when he does find the zone, they'll take him out. So I'm thinking it's going to be a rough night at the ballpark for Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, I agree with the analysis, but when I go to think if I'm going to if he's going to be one of my pitchers, I think, but you know what, it's Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah,
so
pretty darn good.
I'm not betting the house, right? I'm not playing.
Yeah.
But even so, I try to be smart about it.
There probably are safer picks on the board.
It was where I was looking.
Atlanta's so scary.
Yeah, no, oh man, absolutely. And I was going to say, geez, I got Glasnow projected for the most points. No, I just sorted by DraftKings salary, and he's the highest priced pitcher. I don't have him projected for the most points tonight.
I mean, I could totally see him having a great outing, but again, it's just with the way they are 1 through 9, the way they work guys, and the way things have been so good for Glasnow lately, I just feel like tonight will maybe be a little bump in the road.
He's not
going well for him lately.
He's not available for rival, but I've got Andrew Abbott projected with the most points.
Wow.
And I want to say, but he doesn't strike anybody out. But his last 3 games, 10, 8, and 12 strikeouts. Andrew Abbott, 6 innings, 6 innings, and 7 2/3. So it's first impressions. It's tough to get that out of your head. Get that out of your head with Abbott. 40, great radio. 30 strikeouts in his last 19 2/3. That's not low strikeouts. Zola needs to refresh in the Andrew Abbott part of his gray matter.
Well, I look forward to tonight on Rival. So, again, my picks were under on Savali, over on Hunter Brown, and under on Glasnow. Who are you going to, of all the picks we've talked about, who are you going to settle on for your Rival picks?
Definitely Savali, and then I'll just, like I said, kind of mix and match. Savali and Wheeler are kind of my main 2, and then I'll figure out how I want to handle the rest. I mean, I just looking at Abbott, he's given up 4 homers in 19 2/3, but he's given up 5 runs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you believe homers kind of come, I don't want to say happenstance, but kind of in bunches and that regresses. I mean, he's not giving up runs without a homer.
He had that one game where he gave up like 3 solo homers, but other than that, he's been just awesome.
Yeah, that's just that was Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 starts ago. So I need to put eyeballs on Abbott tonight. I not that I'm a scout and can tell, but I need to. He's earned the Zola needs to watch him pitch label for that's and $3.50 to get you a small coffee.
Well, no two-star pitchers degrade. I thought we'd take some time to look at the RotoWire earned auction values tool on the site, which, just lays out exactly how much each player has been worth on a $260 budget. You can also adjust the percent on batters spent, and a lot of people will argue that, well, for earned, it should be 50-50. But I'm going to go with a 60-40 split here.
The 50-50 argument is not practical.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth, but we don't purchase players at 50-50.
Right.
So we're not programmed to be able to figure out. The NFBC is kind of 62-38. So if you want to try to get a feel for how these guys do in an NFBC league, your 60-40 is pretty close.
I thought 60-40 would make sense here for earned because of the split between, we start more hitters than we do pitchers, but obviously categories are split 50-50, 5 and 5.
Right.
But I thought 60-40 would be a decent starting point where we're not putting too much weight on the pitchers, but we're still putting a good amount on them. But before we get into that, let me take care of a little piece of business here from our friends over at Home Run Forecast Index. The weather can impact how far a ball can fly, but we never know what all that heat and humidity or cold air is really doing to the ball. The Home Run Forecast Index gives us an easy way to determine how good or bad the air is for ball flight. The index is calculated by measuring stadium-specific weather conditions and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the most unfavorable for good ball flight and 10 indicating the most favorable air. There is a strong correlation between the index and the number of runs scored per game and the number of home runs hit. Games that have the highest index, 10, for the whole game, average over 10 runs and 2.8 homers over the course of the year. An index is created for each game so you can see what it will be in any stadium and how the weather's influence might change over the course of the game, as well as the wind direction. Right now, you can get access to the HRF premium site for only $5 a month and see what the index will look like for every hour of every game. Go to homerunforecast.com to sign up now. Appreciate their sponsorship of the podcast. Sounds like a really cool product. I'll have to check that out myself. If you're unfamiliar with our earned auction values tool, you can find it on the site, although you can also just Google earned auction values and the RotoWire page will pop right up. So let's go ahead and take a look. I think number one is about as obvious as you can get, right? Ronald Acuna, $56, full $15 earned more than Ohtani, although that doesn't take both his hitting and pitching into account. So,
right.
If you're in a daily league, Ohtani's running away with it, but weekly leagues, Ronald Acuna is your top earner. And if you take Ohtani out of the mix, the top earning pitcher today, Nathan Eovaldi. I mentioned that I got offered him in a trade recently and turned it down just because of his history and things have been going so well. But the number one guy to date is pretty shocking for Nathan Eovaldi.
I'm looking at the line. Obviously, the ratios are sparkling. The innings are really helping him. 117 and 2/3. Now we're a little past halfway through, so it's hard, a little hard to do the math. But 18 games started. He hasn't missed a start yet. But I agree in that if you're trading, if you need pitching help, if you're really desperate, you trade for Eovaldi because of the injuries. I don't know if I trade for him otherwise, just because you got to figure he's going to get hurt.
You just have to, and performance-wise too. I mean, I don't know how he could keep this level up. So
yeah, it's not a strikeout.
I can only see downhill from here, right? Yeah, 109 strikeouts and 117 and 2/3 innings.
I think it'll be a kind of a flat hill, but no, I do not see him finishing with better numbers than he has right now.
Well, we talked, or I guess you mentioned recently, how Felix Bautista had more strikeouts than a lot of mid-rotation arms. And not only is he the number one relief pitcher. He's actually the number 4 earner in all of fantasy so far. How often do you see that a closer and as a top 5 earner?
It's just a weird year.
Maybe,
yeah.
Even when a couple of years ago, Blake Trinan, he wasn't a top 5 type of guy.
You get a 1.13 whip and a 0.95 ERA and a 0.95 whip. He gives up 2 runs in his next, appearance, and he's suddenly not number 4 anymore. Mm-hmm. But no, it just goes to show, how good he is. But there's just so much variance within reliever ERA, and he got a little bit of a break a couple weeks ago. He was being, I don't want to use the word abused, but he was pitching a lot. Mm-hmm. He got about a week break just because it wasn't needed. That I think came at a very good time.
Yeah, that came at a fortuitous.
Yeah,
it was a good happenstance, I guess, for Bautista.
Look at Mr. Scrabble.
you bust out the happenstance.
Yeah, I do.
I'm borrowing that from you. But yeah, Bautista has slightly over averaging 2 strikeouts per inning, so 18 per 9. That's pretty good. Clayton Kershaw is the number 5 earner. So Acuna 56, Ohtani 41, Eovaldi 36, Bautista 33, and Kershaw 33, along with Freddie Freeman 33. But Kershaw, really hard for me to see this coming because of the injuries in recent years, but he just has returned to form. He's on the IL right now, but he is confident that he'll be ready to go after the break.
Well, okay, sure. I mean, history says, let's see it before we believe it. I'm not surprised how well he's pitched, and I take the blame for giving him more starts in my projections, and then he went out with a shoulder. So, for the game, I mean, I want him pitching for the good of the game. But, again, like Eovaldi, there are risks to deal a lot to save your pitching.
And old and boring can really pay dividends sometimes. Yeah. Other times it blows up in your face, but a guy like Kershaw, is it a Ron Chandler thing that once you show the skills, you own them? Sort of thing, and eventually, your body fails you. But Kershaw somehow was able to turn back the clock.
Yeah, I mean, once you've displayed your skills, you can show them again. But doesn't that mean once you've displayed stinkiness, you can show that again too? I mean, I'm trying not to. Right, I mean, to be honest, I mean,
that's a good way to put it, because once you start that slope, especially the aging curve, if you get to the wrong side, it's really hard to reverse those trends. But somehow Kershaw did it to this point anyway. And his teammate Freddie Freeman, I mentioned, every year you got to pencil him up here, even though he'll probably go second round next year again.
He's got 12 steals.
Yeah.
He's not going to run with the Dodgers. He's got 12 steals.
Love to see that. Corbin Carroll's doubling him up on steals with 24. He's got more home runs than Freeman. Freeman does have a 30-point batting average advantage. But like we said, Carroll not only the front runner for the NL Rookie of the Year, but one of the top most productive players in all of fantasy. Still waiting to see if he's maybe a short trip on the IL, but nothing yet from Arizona. They've been quiet, especially with their lineup tonight behind Zach Gallen. Still waiting on that. Next up here behind Carroll on the top earners, I lost my page, so let me get back to it. All right. Corbin Carroll, 33. Then Zach Gallen, 32. Matt Olson, 32. Spencer Strider, 31. So Atlanta with Olson, Strider, and Acuna have 3 of the top 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 of the top 10 fantasy earners to date.
They're good.
Not bad.
They're good, huh?
Yeah.
And none of them are named Vaughn Grissom. I'm still bitter.
That one wasn't a hit. But look, we all have our misses. Strider got his 10th win already. So Atlanta, the World Series favorites now, betting favorites. And
Strider, he got the ERA down to 3.66. he went through a stretch of some really bad luck. So it's good to see that normalize, and the strikeouts are always there. So, yeah, it's good to see Strider where he is.
Adolis Garcia, he was not named as an all-star starter, but he is going to start the all-star game as a replacement for Trout, I believe, or Trout or Judge, one of the two.
Yeah, Texas, you just put a name in a hat and pick one out, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And I got to say, I just want to own up to it. I was the low man on Garcia, Adolis Garcia in the round table. I saw almost like Javier Baez downside where the pendulum swings with his with his play discipline, and it gets ugly. But he just keeps producing despite that shaky plate discipline.
He's got a howitzer. I've seen him make a couple throws this past couple of days. Guy can throw too. It's kind of fun to watch.
He's a stud. Shane McClanahan, hurt right now. Bad timing on the injury. Won't see him in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he expects to be back shortly after the break. And then the last $30 player is Framber Valdez. So if you grab Framber where he was going, that's paying big dividends for you. Mookie Betts at 29, another great year for Mookie. And I believe he has second base eligibility now, does he not?
Yeah. In most leagues, yeah. And he was threatening to get shortstop, but they kind of backed off of that. But, yeah, Mookie Betts. And it seems like he's having an off year, but he's just producing and producing and producing. And excuse me, maybe you see 271 as an average and think that's not Mookie, but this is why he's not 2, 3, or 4. I mean, there were 2 years he was the number one earner. So 300 he would be, but anyway.
Well, before we move on, let's take care of one last piece of business. We have to throw to our Blue Wire sponsors. So those of us watching live, just be 1 second. We'll be back here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. All right, we are back here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay Lincoln, Todd Zola, our last Friday pod before the break. Hope you guys enjoyed the break. I'll be traveling a little bit, so not a full rest, but I'm excited to get a little bit of a breather here during the break. I don't need it as bad as Major League Baseball players do, but I need a little bit of a break. Joe Ryan, he and Kevin Gausman up as $28 pitchers. Then Garrett Cole, Zach Eflin. I know you liked Eflin coming in, and some people had him as a musket type of sleeper. But for him to be on par with Garrett Cole to this point is pretty amazing and a testament to what the Rays do with their starting pitching.
And in fact, he only has one more win. So it's not, he's picking. 9 wins is nice. It's tied for third. No. It's tied for third most, but there's a bunch of guys with 11 and 10. So it's probably, but the point being, it's not just because of the wins. Well, Eflin's whip is just minuscule. So, he's been kind of a, I don't want to say godsend, but, if I didn't have, so many Manoahs and Kellers and Singer errors earlier in my draft, I'd be a lot, the Eflin would have been doing me a lot more good. Of course, Singer, I know he's not anywhere listed. He's starting to pitch well again. So, man, he's my bane.
Brad, you gonna get back Singer. In?
I don't know.
You gonna dabble again, maybe?
Oh man, I don't know.
But it's funny. I really wanted Jeffrey Springs and Drew Rasmussen. Those were my musket guys, and then turns out Zach Eflin is the guy to get. So good on you if you got Eflin. And another guy here, kind of like Kershaw, who's turned back the clock, $27 earner to date. As much as a guy like Luis Robert, Christian Yelich. So Yelich betting 287, 11 homers, 21 bags. Pretty nice little rebound here for Yelich. And another one I didn't see coming, and I kind of see some parallels between him and Kershaw because it was the back and years of, declining production and missed time. And suddenly they're back in fantasy managers' good graces.
A lot of that, all right, I mean, obviously 21 steals, 65 runs. And a lot of that is getting on base, but that may be an accelerator. If you would have figured out if there was something, and there is, if there was, expected runs, I'll bet it would be a little bit lower. So the hits are, he's just being driven at a high rate. And I think 45 RBI, considering where he hits in the lineup and with 11 homers, I mean, that might be a tad high. So, but I mean, 287 average, no one's going to complain. And 21 steals, obviously no one's going to complain. So I think that the rumors of his demise are a bit exaggerated.
And this will happen every year where, myself and others just ready to write a guy off and leave him for dead as far as a fantasy baseball contributor. But there'll always be guys who surprise, and it's humbling because you're going to get a lot wrong when you play this game.
He's one of those guys where the breakout potential is there because of what we're talking about with Ron, once you've shown a skill. But I like to give my advice as if I have one team and one team only, and Yelich wasn't on that team. I feel, I mean, people play enough leagues now that saying I want him on one or two of my teams is actually fair advice because people are playing that many teams, and that makes sense. But I still, if all I'm doing is drafting NL Tout and AL Labor and TGFBI, he's not on my radar. That was a mistake. I do have Yelich in some best ball, and because of that reason, because that's where you want the that upside.
Absolutely. Alexis Diaz, 27 earned today. He blew his first save, but that's all right. He's still been awesome. Luis Robert, 27. Marcus Stroman, 27. Wander Franco at 26. Apparently not maybe the best teammate. He's got some issues as a teammate, but man, I want him on my fantasy team.
We talked to Jason Collette about that. We think it may be a little bit blown out of proportion. Maybe I don't want to misrepresent what Jason was saying, but maybe the answer is it's manageable, as opposed to this is the way he is. I think the idea being that Franco's issues are manageable and he'll turn around.
Here's one that might surprise you. It surprises me, even though I have him on a couple teams. Still surprised to see Tyler Wells of the Baltimore Orioles up as a $25 earner to this point. 98 and 2/3 innings. He's got 99 Ks, 6 wins, a 3.19 ERA, 0.90 WHIP. Although you look at the estimators, Todd, and they, FIP up at 4.75. The estimators are pointing to a significantly rougher second half for Wells.
As they would for most of these players that we've talked about. Yeah. That's the nature of it.
That's the nature.
Only 6 wins. You know what? I think it was probably DVR, probably Derek Van Riper that kind of first turned me on to Wells. And if DVR turns me on to someone, it's usually because Eno turned the player on to Derek. But there was a time, remember, when Wells had a rumor to be closing for a little bit.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that kind of, all right, now they got to look at the guy. At least he got on some radar in that regard. But we talk about regression. I think it's gonna be fairly soft. I mean, he's still a good pitcher. 99 strikeouts in 98 and 2/3. 1 an inning. It's not that's manageable. That's palatable for sure.
I said the 4.75 FIP. I'd take the under on that being his ERA the rest of the season.
What's his XFIP? I like
XFIP is 4.30,
which is a little bit below league average. Yeah. I'm a little bit more of an XFIP and Sierra guy because I do believe that home runs, there's some regression needed, and that's what XFIP does. But there's still just guidelines, right? And you kind of take them all together.
Yeah, important caveats certainly to remember with the estimators. I will say, too, with Wells, he does have an 87.5% left on base rate. So he's been a little lucky with stranding runners.
Some of that's Cano and Bautista.
Yeah, true.
Some of that's the bullpen.
And his own doing, I think it's not all luck. Sometimes the pitcher affects that.
A good pitcher, an ace can keep it in the 78% range. The average is around 72%. A strikeout ace, elite, can keep a left on base around 78 and not have it be turned, but good luck.
He also has a 192 opponent's BABIP. So just be aware that, there could be some regression ahead for Tyler Wells, as you probably expected anyway. Ozzie Albies, a $25 earner, 22 homers already for Albies. And wasn't running a bunch, but he is up to 6 steals now.
Yeah, have you watched him? I mean, we thought it would be more of a 30 steal leadoff hitter, right? And he's turned into a 45 homer guy that can run a tiny bit. Yeah. And these aren't gentle swings. He attacks the ball. He knows his role, and he's good at it.
Absolutely. Randy Arozarena, he's got 16 homers, 9 bags, 282 average. He's earned $1 less than Albies, 24. Still a great first half for Randy Arozarena. George Kirby, he's probably issued 2 walks on the season. He's issued 10 walks on the season. So he's allowed more home runs than he has walks. That's pretty wild. I love what he's doing. Again, he is a $24 earner to this point. Kyle Tucker, 24. Bobby Witt, 23. Lane Thomas, 23. That's
on fire lately.
It's a pretty surprising one. 305 average, 14 homers. That's, I think, maybe the first guy. Mitch Keller was up on the list, but one of the only guys so far that was really a true end game. Maybe Eflin too before later drafts, but I mean, Lane Thomas was an afterthought, and people questioning if he would even play, and suddenly he's a $23 player. Do you think he's traded? There have been a lot of rumors of that.
Maybe. Now, I assume that Lane Thomas's inning of pitching isn't included because Ohtani's isn't.
No, I don't believe so.
Must have given up 3 runs that inning. I guess Thomas could be traded. One reason being, Washington, kind of like Arizona, they've got some outfielders that are on the way. So I could see, it's not like, even if he's a little bit younger, get another prospect for him because he's replaceable with some of the guys they have on the way. And talk about selling high. I don't think Thomas you can get any, I don't think you can get any higher. You're gonna max out on what you can get right now.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, we'll make our way through a few more of these guys.
Yeah.
Fernando Tatis has earned $1 less than Lane Thomas. You did not hear that wrong.
Well, but I mean, he also missed a month.
Yeah, that's true. So you build in some replacement value. Maybe if you build that in, maybe Tatis has been worth more. But anyway, Padres have been a big disappointment, but Tatis, since returning from suspension, has been solid. Jordan Romano, $22. Jose Ramirez, maybe a little bit of a disappointment if you drafted him in the first round, but $22 earner. Nick Castellanos, 22. Nice rebound for Castellanos. His season last year was really brutal at times.
Yeah.
That was his first with Philly. Seems more comfortable this year. Maybe that's just, narrative, but good to see him producing like he's capable of. But when he gets into a funk, man, I saw that with the Reds. Sometimes he expands his zone so much and will just swing at anything. Like the down and away pitch, he just can't lay off at times. But when things are going well, Castellanos.
And don't look now, but the Phillies are playing pretty good ball.
Yeah. You mentioned something, though, about Andrew Painter before we started. That's he had a setback, but then he got back on the bullpen mound. But now it sounds like maybe the elbow is still an issue for the youngster.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I was hoping to maybe see him, regardless of fantasy impact. I was just kind of hoping to see him later this year.
Yep.
Camilo Duval, $22 earner to this date. Merrill Kelly, $21 earner. What a season for Kelly in Arizona so far. Francisco Lindor, 21. Bo Bichette, 21. Julio Rodriguez, 21. Logan Allen, 21. Rafael Devers, 21. Bryce Elder, 21. Congrats to the first-time All-Star, Bryce Elder. That's another guy from the end game. and really undrafted in most leagues to an all-star selection.
You say Logan Allen?
I said Logan Webb.
Oh, I thought you said Logan. I heard Logan
maybe
Allen.
I said Logan Allen. I don't know.
That's fine. No, because huh? Yeah, no, I like Logan Webb has been one of my favorites. So again, though, I wiped that out with Brady Singer. So hopefully.
But you were beating the Logan Webb drum. You deserve
a little bet.
Yeah. Esteury Ruiz, a $20 earner at this point, 43 bags, just casually 43 steals, but
tough to steal from the IL.
Yeah, was placed on the IL today. So if you're in the NFBC, be sure to swap him out. Right shoulder subluxation for Ruiz will interrupt that scorching hot, speed-wise anyway, scorching hot start for him. Jonathan India, $20 earner. Jesus Luzardo, 20. Josh Lowe, 20. He's cooled off a bit, but, still nice, really nice find if you got him off the waiver wire. Christian Walker, Ketel Marte, and then I didn't make you guess earlier, but if you had to guess of all the players in the world, who the last $20 player is, who would you think that we haven't mentioned so far? This is really hard.
Trying to think
all the players in baseball.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
You may think, maybe Josh Young, he's an all-star. Maybe a guy like Nolan Arenado. Nope, it's Spencer Steer. 287 average, 14 homers, and the nine stolen bases are propping him up there. So
see, I have the same list as you do, so I knew the answer, but I would never have guessed it. So I'm too old for I'm going to show off. I would not. Even though I have him in my tout team, I would not have guessed it.
I respect that. He's, I kind of compared him to a mini Austin Riley on this show before, and he's not that big hulking guy like Riley, and maybe less talented, but man, he just takes professional at bats and never looks overmatched against anybody. So, as a fan, I'm really excited about Spencer Steer.
And I like how the Reds are moving him around and keeping left field, first base. Because that new guy, Joey Votto, looks like he wants to play too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he went through a brutal stretch where he was like 0 for 19, but he kind of seemed to come out of that.
Yeah.
And a good thing that Steer can play left field.
I love when Votto got the pinch hit the other day. He looked like a kid, the kid in Little League getting his first hit.
Because he cracked me up, man. When he had his hat on backwards and was saying they were hip.
The announcers were pointing out that he's just not used to that, And so it kind of was a thrill for him to get an important pinch hit. I kind of think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And he was cracking me up. He had his hat on backwards, was saying, this is what the hip youngsters do, and saying he's going to stay up till 7 a.m. playing PlayStation. The guy is just cool and great teammate, it seems like. So I'm glad that he's really meshing with these youngsters, it seems like. Yeah. Love that guy. Well, some players that we didn't mention, guys who have fallen short of $20 to this point, some big names. Juan Soto at 17, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Austin Riley both at 16. If you had to pick one that you want on your team the rest of the way, you'd be crazy not to want any of these guys. But if you had to pick one to be a $20 guy the rest of the way, who would you pick?
All right. I mean, to me, it's all of them, but I'm going to go with Vlad.
Yeah. He seems to have found his power stroke again.
Yeah, and I think Toronto's going to score more runs. And, I mean, they all have, air quote, fantasy faults, but to me, it's Vlad.
It's hard to imagine they're kind of underperforming. I mean, they've all been okay, and Soto's been great since a really bad start, but yeah, I think they both probably are over 20 when it's all said and done, probably 20 from here on out, but all those guys have fallen a little short to this point. Also, a guy like Luis Arraez, for as good as his average has been, 388, he's only a $15 player for fantasy. He's got 3 homers and 1 steal. So as good as he is in that one category, the lack of balanced production really kind of limits his upside in fantasy.
He's good. He's better in points leagues for what it's worth.
That's a good point. So Luis Arraez, even with a 388 average, he has been only as valuable as like Lucas Giolito on the pitching side. Or Josh Hayden. So it's you gotta. I like the player, but without thump, without speed.
Well, this is in a vacuum.
True.
So if your roster construct went after all power hitters that strike out a lot, he could be worth more to your roster, right? I mean, if he's propping up your average, if a 388 is putting you in first place by 8 points, he's not helping you. It goes into your earned value, but it doesn't help your team. If your average is 230 or 240 and he brings it to 260, now he's really helping you.
Yeah, that's true. This is in a vacuum, and that's not how teams are built. So that's
right. Exactly. Well, we don't know. I mean, you got to have the right. You have to have constructed the right team to make it all work. But
good point.
It's a flaw, I suppose, about valuation. You just have to understand what it's about, and then you keep it in context.
Yeah, here's a wacky one. Luke Raley's so far out-earned Trey Turner by $1, so in a vacuum anyway. He's got 15 homers, and I didn't realize Luke Raley had 9 steals.
Yeah,
wow.
I do, because 9 times on Twitter, Jason Collette's gone, Luke Raley just stole another base.
Yeah, that's very surprising. Isaac Paredes, speaking of Jason Collette, $13. Anthony Santander, 12. So yeah, I mean, we're making our way down this. Here's one I got wrong. TJ Friedel, 11. I didn't see it, but Friedel's been great. Ha-Seong Kim got some mention because apparently Baseball Reference WAR is really high on him. He's had a nice year, but B-WAR may need to recheck their formula. And Jamer Candelario is a $10 player. Ezekiel Duran's been pretty good too, $10 player.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Duran, I think he's been losing out on some playing time recently, but he does have an 882 OPS for the season, 12 homers. So I guess that just speaks to all the options that the Rangers have offensively right now.
Yeah.
Well, great stuff, Todd. Thanks for bearing with me as we kind of just shot the breeze here without 2 start pitchers. Anything else on your mind today that you want to mention?
We can get by. We know a little baseball. We don't have to talk about 2 start pitchers, but it's fun. It's fun to have it be our little niche. Mm-hmm. So say hi to everybody in Vegas for me. One of these years I'll go back. Like to get back. Play a little euchre for me. I think I'll miss that the most. Once I discovered euchre, they're playing euchre. Back to my college days. Didn't have the same level of alcohol back that I drank in the college days, but that was fun. So anyway, we'll strong second half. For those that do follow the 2-start pitching, we will have a 3 and 10 day rankings out, I think late Wednesday and then updated Thursday night. Then we'll be back next Saturday for the standard, for the following week, the 2-start pitcher. But by popular demand, we'll do the 3 and the 10 day rankings again this year.
By the way, we've been getting some mention of Landon Knack in the chat, so I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if he's going to be starting at any point, but he is on the taxi squad. I don't think
the Dodgers, announced, right?
Yeah, and I guess Michael Grove isn't a lock to start tomorrow, so maybe I need to change that in the grid. But either way, we appreciate you all coming through. It definitely won't be Gavin Stone. He and Brandon Pfaadt, 2 guys who really showing how hard it is to play at this level. But Todd, appreciate it, man. Hope to we'll do this again next week, right?
I'll be here.
We'll have 2-start pitchers to grade again. So hope you'll join us then. Yeah. Everybody enjoy the break. Take care of yourselves and be safe during the break. Talk to you next week on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball.